creating symbol instance sets in Illustrator. Instead of creating symbol instances one at a time and dragging them from the symbols panel like this, what I can do is instead use one of our symbol sprayer tools to create multiple symbol instances fairly quickly. And I'm not necessarily using this as a means to position these instances in a very precise location, but it's a way that I can create multiple instance sets really quickly. So I'm going to do a little bit of alteration here. I am going to resize this flower. So right now when I drag the instance from the symbol here, it's fairly large, and if I want to create a set, meaning multiples, I'm going to run out of room real quickly. So I need to reduce the size of this, and I am going to redefine this symbol. So I'm going to click on this instance. Remember, I get one bounding box around it. I'm going to choose to break the link, and with everything still selected, hold down my Shift key and make a much smaller flower, something maybe along the lines of this. With everything still selected, I'm going to drag it. Once I get to my symbols panel, I'm going to hold my Alt key over top of the existing symbol to redefine it. So now that symbol has been redefined. If I drag another instance out, you can see it is much smaller. Okay, so let's just put this one off to the side for the moment. And let's navigate to our symbol sprayer tool. So we have a grouping of symbolism tools here. And the top one being the symbol sprayer tool. That's the one we are going to use. Looks like a little aerosol spray can, and that's the tool. So this symbol sprayer allows me to play around and add multiple instances. So right now I'm going to use my square bracket key right after the P on your keyboard. There's a right bracket and a left bracket. The left bracket will decrease the size of my symbol sprayer tool. I'll show you in a moment how we can get some more options for that symbol sprayer tool, but for right now I'm just going to decrease the size of it. So while I have my symbol selected in the symbols panel, I have my symbol sprayer as the active tool. All I need to do is click and drag on my artboard, and now I have a field of flowers. So what happens here, and you can see it, I have one bounding box surrounding this entire grouping of symbol instances. This is my symbol set. So it's a symbol instance set, but think of it as one single object because that's how Illustrator is thinking of it. So if I wanted to, I actually could do some additional instances into this set. So let's go ahead. I'm going to use my selection tool and just deselect so you can see that this can be moved as one continuous big object. But we're again going to play around with this, and I'm going to take my instance here. This is my single instance that I did place. I'm going to break the link. Okay, with that broke, let's zoom in. So I'm using Control and Space Bar, and we're just going to click here to zoom in a little bit. I want to change maybe the color of my flower. So remember, this is actually an object that has a pucker bloat effect on it. If I open up my appearance, you can see that pucker and bloat has been applied to it. Right here in the appearance, I could change my fill. So let's change this to maybe more of a orange. Okay, and if I can select the inner, you can see that this is that deeper, and let's do just a deeper color here. And my last has a transparency on it. Let's do something a little bit light. Okay, so here's my new flower, just a different color. I'm going to use my Control Alt and Space Bar, zoom out just a bit so I can see everything here, and I'm using my Space Bar to reposition. With this selected, I'm going to go ahead and just drag it right into the symbols panel. And this will call flower orange. So now I have a pink flower and I have an orange flower. So now if I wanted to, back to this set, All right, and if we wanted, we could just slide this off into my scratch area. In this set, we'll bring this set right in the middle of my artboard here. If I wanted to add to this set, but with a different symbol, I can do that. I have to make sure that that symbol, the different symbol, is selected in my symbols panel. So I'm going to select the orange flower that we just created. And then back to my symbol sprayer tool, that little aerosol can, I'm going to click and drag. So my existing set has to be selected. My different symbol has to be selected. And now if I click and drag, you can see how it becomes part of this instance set. So you can combine different symbols within one set. Now if I wanted to reverse, actually my Alt key with the symbol will kind of delete some of these. You see how that's happening? So it's kind of a trick to do it, but you can see, oh, I got rid of that whole section. Alt key with my symbol sprayer tool reverses or deletes the instances, and it kind of does it as a backwards. So you know what, you kind of think of it as a step process, a chronological order. It's going to reverse it. Okay, so how about some options here for my symbol sprayer? I'm going to double click the symbol sprayer tool in the tool panel, and I get my Symbolism tools options. So these are the options that will be applied here. Notice that I have some of these other tools available here. There are 8 total Symbolism tools in Illustrator, but for right now I just want to look for my specific options for this sprayer tool, the first one here. So I have a diameter, and this is the brush size of the tool. So this does not determine the size of my instances, but rather the area that I will spray. So the larger the brush size, basically that will place instances over a greater area. And you notice that I did use my square bracket tool to decrease the brush size. I was changing the diameter. The intensity here is basically determines the number of instances sprayed. So the higher this number, the more intense or greater the number of symbol instances that will be dispersed at one time. And my density refers to how closely those instances are positioned to each other. So a higher density setting here would produce more intense, closer, I shouldn't use the word intense, but more closely packed. So intensity is more numbers, and density is how close they're packed together. I'll click OK. Now expanding this symbol instance, if I need to go and make some specific position adjustments, remember I said this creates instances in a set quickly, but it's not precise. It's very hard to have specific control. So that may mean that I have to expand this. Under the object menu is expand. When I expand it, I'm going to expand it, and now I have each individual as being their own, and you can see they will be grouped. I'm going to ungroup them. Usually when you expand something in Illustrator, it goes to a group, so you may have to ungroup it. And now every one of these can be repositioned personally, and then I can go ahead and do some transformations if I wanted to. If I wanted to make this flower be a little bit larger, and maybe this flower be a little bit larger, and this flower be a little bit smaller. Now in this case I'm not holding my shift key down because flowers aren't always consistent, and I want a little bit of that randomness to them. Okay, if I have too many in here, I could press the delete key and just get rid of one. If I wanted to duplicate this little one, I could hold down my Alt key and drag a copy out of it. So this is the way that we can then go back and make sure that, you know, this is exactly how I want this to look once we've got all of those instances out on the board. So that's how we can create what we call a symbol instance set.